How about a little late night noir, bathed in the light of the cathode ray, so to speak? Back in the 70s, I was working weird hours. I got off work sometimes at 11 o'clock. So I'd wander over to the corner bar, and if there was nothing going on, I'd go home, probably get home around midnight, 1 o'clock, whatever, and turn on the tube to see what was running on the late night movie showcases, why I call this late night noir, because you never know what you're going to find. One really bad film that I did find was 1958's The Flame Barrier, which I had just footballed over to my good friends, The Mummy and the Monkey, for them to tear apart on the Hairy Scary Hangout. And I had forgotten about this film. It's a weird little sci-fi thing about a satellite that comes down in the jungle. They don't specify what jungle, but I'm thinking it's the Amazon jungle. And a woman goes out to find her husband, who was going out with a research team to find the satellite. Well, she hooks up with two brothers, one played by Arthur Franz, who was like a regular in some of these 50s horror movies and stuff. So they say they have to trek through the jungle on foot, and then you see them driving a Jeep or whatever. It seems that they're finding desiccated skeletons that have burned, and they get a bunch of native bearers, but one of the native bearers comes back with all these like smoking holes in his chest, and he falls down and turns into a skeleton. Makes little or no sense, and actually none of this shit's ever explained because there's holes in this plot wide enough to drive a Greyhound bus through. There's also a scene where the female lead is menaced by a vicious, venomous fer-de-lance. It's some striped snake they got hung up, obviously, with fishing line, and if it was a fer-de-lance, she would have been dead anyway. Those are big poisonous snakes. But anyway, you know the damn thing's on an obvious fishing line, and you know when the guy takes the shot at it, they're going to jerk the fishing line and make it look like the snake was shot. Well, all this is very exciting, except this satellite, for some reason, buried itself in this cave. And the research team with this woman's husband had gotten to find it is all gone. And the husband is encased in this blob-like creature, for whatever reason. It seems that if you get within a certain amount of feet to this blob, you get zapped by this electrical field which disintegrates you, which they let a cute little chimp walk into. So now they have to basically electrocute this thing to stop it from spreading, because it seems every hour it gets better and better. Unlike the film, which gets worse and worse. I mean, one of the brothers sacrifices himself by jumping into the force field. They zap the creature, the end. A very painful hour and 10 minutes. The company that put this thing out was either Gramercy Releasing or Gramercy Pictures or something like that. They also had released the also very boring Return of Dracula with Francis Leader. They were a 3-picture outfit. Unfortunately, the other picture that they did wasn't really bad. It was that giant snail movie, The Monster That Challenged the World, which actually was a cool movie, but you know, 3 strikes and you're out. That's all this company did. So you want to check out The Flame Barrier, go to The Mummy and the Monkey's Hairy Scary Hangout, because it's probably better being taken apart than actually being watched as a whole. Another film that I saw late at night came back from 1955 called The Big Combo with Cornell Wilde, who is a detective, Detective Diamond, who was determined to put this mob boss, Mr. Brown, played by Richard Conte, behind bars. Seems that Detective Diamond is trying to get this girl Susan, who is Brown's moll, to turn on him. But the thing is, he has some kind of crush on this girl, but he also has another girl that's a dancer named Alicia, who comes to see him now and then. Mr. Brown is a vicious individual who basically grabs Detective Diamond, ties him up, and tortures him using his henchman Joe, played by Brian Donlevy, who is deaf, uses his hearing aid to put it into his ears, and his 2 henchmen, Fonte and Mingo, turn up the volume until he passes out, and then force him to drink a bottle of hair tonic because it's 40% alcohol. Fonte and Mingo were played by Lee Van Cleef and Earl Holliman. And here's the shocker for this. They're gay hitmen. It's not obvious at first, but when a phone call is made at the middle of the night, it's obvious that they're in the same room and perhaps in the same bed together. Well, anyway, this is all a result of Detective Diamond pushing Mr. Brown. So Mr. Brown orders a hit on him, but unfortunately the hit goes sour because Alicia's in the room and the two empty their machine guns into her. Things are rapidly declining because Joe decided he wanted to be the boss and tries to turn Fante and Mingo against Mr. Brown, only to get himself executed in a really weird scene. Mr. Brown says, "I'm going to spare you the agony of hearing the shots that kill you," and turn off the hearing aid, and then you see his machine guns going off in dead silence. Again, this is a very weird and sadistic film for its time. The heat is on after the girl gets killed because the police chief, played by Robert Middleton, basically unleashes the hounds. They get Fante and Mingo and basically get them to roll over on Mr. Brown. So Mr. Brown shows up with a payoff and gives them what they think is a box of money, but when they open it, it's a bomb and explodes. Fante is killed and Mingo is dying, and they're trying to get him to turn state's evidence even though he's dying, and he says, "Look what's happened to your buddy Fante," and he pulls the cover off of Fante's body. And this is where it really sinks in that this is a gay couple, because Mingo breaks down in tears and gives up Mr. Brown, who is cornered and captured at the end. Like any great 50s film, this is populated by wonderful character actors like Ted DeCorsa, John Hoyt, and Whit Bissell, and some others. Like I said, a very weird and sadistic film, and Conte plays Mr. Brown, very cool and sadistic. And the other segue is that basically Cornel Wilde married his co-star, the woman who played Susan. What was her name? I make notes sometimes. I didn't make notes. Jean Wallace. That's who it was. Strangely enough, later on down the road at night, I saw another weird film that Cornel Wilde was in. Beyond Mombasa. I believe that was 1958. This is a color one. They're going to Africa because Cornel was playing Matt, who shows up drunk at his brother George's bequest because George bought a mine, and the mine is obviously full of uranium, but George was killed by a sect called the Leopard Men, which was an offshoot of the Mau Maus. Now they're saying that the Leopard Men have come back, and now they're trying to get to the mine, and they also find out that there were several partners involved. A guy named Elliot, and another guy, what was his name? My mind is going. A guy named Gil Rossi, played by none other than Christopher Lee. Gil Rossi is an Italian Frenchman, and Lee has his hair sort of like greased back and his complexion darkened for this whole thing because he's a big game hunter. The other participants are a missionary named Ralph, played by Leo Genn, and a researcher named Ann, played by Donna Reed. Yes, that Donna Reed from the Donna Reed Show. So they go through the jungle, and there's another attack by the Leopard Men. And they do find the mine, and they do find out, even though there was a couple other partners involved, that yes, the mine is rich with uranium, but unbeknownst to everyone, the guy who was riling up and brought back the Leopard Men is Ralph the missionary, because he feels that, the white man's going to exploit the mineral deposits in this part of the world, which, that's what we do. We exploit everybody. But anyway, he sets it up where basically the Leopard Men are going to come in and kill the remaining partners. Unfortunately for him, the tribe is a little bit pissed off that he did resurrect the Leopard Men and kill the Leopard Men, and basically hack Ralph to death. And it ends, with he gets the girl, Matt gets the girl, and he gets the mine, and everything's well. So Cornel Wilde was a pretty prolific actor during the 50s and 60s. He was in Beach Red, and also another jungle adventure that is really worth watching, The Naked Prey. So that's our film noir episode for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. If you need to get in touch with me, it's grindhousepurgatory@gmail.com. And all I can say is pray for Ukraine, pray that we don't get involved in World War III, and fuck Vladimir Putin. So on that happy note, stay safe, and we'll see you on the flip side.